Hey, what's up guys? It's me, Spaz, back again with a top 7 list of the fastest cars in the new 1.32 update in order of their top speed. Now this is not to say that all these cars on all the tracks will be this rank. This is only for Special Stage X. And to start off, at our number 7 spot, we have the Honda Integra Type R DC2. Now the reason why this is at number 7, as there's another car that is tied with it for its top speed, is because it is an N300 class car. Now, to quickly explain, we're going to be taking a look at 3 areas. Before the ramp up, so at about 3K down the first straight, we'll take a look at the speed. And as we climb the hill and descend, we'll take a look at how the speed changes. So at the crest of the hill, we'll see what our speed is, and then at the downhill, we'll see our peak speed. And then after the first corner, we're going to have a run up all the way down the back straight, I guess, kind of. But not actually showing the full thing, because watching a minute of a straight can be kind of boring. So I'll be cutting to where the max speeds are and where they achieved, and showing the final result at the end of the straight before the corner. So coming down the hill, we're going to barely reach a speed of over 300 kilometers an hour. Which is weird because it's an N300 car. But unfortunately, it does start to roll back, so we know we can't actually hold any of these speeds. But after the first corner, we're gonna see our speed exiting the corner is 297, which is pretty close to our top speed. We just reached it, which is really unfortunate, as this car has not much potential in it. It's 298 is pretty much the maximum speed, and you can corner around the track without losing any speed if you stay high, and using the exit little downhill ramp at the exit of each corner, you can get a little bit of extra speed. So coming up to the second corner, or the last corner, we have still holding 298, which is really unfortunate, because I thought this car had more potential. Like the Supra, it's a pretty fast car, but unfortunately it's not true. But anyways, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's a slow car. Now our number 6 car is the Porsche, the new old Porsche Speedster, I think. I don't know. Oh, that's right there, you can read it, but I'm too lazy to. So the reason why it's actually ahead of the Honda is because it's an N200 car. And you'll see that we do reach the same speed. Spoiler alert, sorry. So coming up to the hill, 294, pretty decent top speed. Not gonna lie, especially for an old car like this, as this is the second oldest car in the game. And only being an N200, this car has some pretty surprising potential. Now, as we wait to crest the hill, I guess I'll say this now, is I did not look at any lap times for any cars, because these tunes are primarily to focus on absolute top speeds, which is pretty good for Special Stage X, but not good for really any other track. Maybe the Tokyo Expressway East Outer Loop, the one with the really long straight. But as we're coming down the hill, we will peak at a speed of 307. Which is pretty good considering this car is like 70 years old. Now, down the straight, we already are almost at our max speed coming out of the first corner. Just takes some time to get to the final top speed. It'll be happening any moment now. Just be patient. I promise you. There it is. There. Okay, there we go. So this car is tied with the DC2, but it does gain a place on it because it is in a lower category. So whether you care about that or not, it's still quite impressive considering it's an older car and lower category. And cutting to the end of the straight, still 298, cut out about 2 minutes of going in a straight line. This track is really good for racking up mileage, points or miles on your car, but the lap is also extremely long, so I still think Northern Isle Speedway is the best place to grind for mileage points. But if you care like me about how much kilometers you have on one car, which is kind of silly to say, but I like to have big numbers, so this is probably the best place to grind for that too. Now with this car you can stay relatively low and hug the wall because you don't lose a lot of speed, and going up top may save a few kilometers per hour, but overall, since this car is going so slow and it takes such a long time to go around the corner, it's just faster to stick on the inside. We have a 6-minute lap, which is not good to say the least. So the number 5 car, the Ferrari Dino, Ferrari's tragically killed son in an accident. This car, first car to actually break the 200 mile per hour barrier, which is I believe around 321 kilometers per hour, just if you're curious. And then 400 kilometers an hour is about 248 miles per hour. Here's a bit of fun trivia for you. So climbing the hill, at the base we're at a speed of 330. Climbing up the hill, we do creep down a lot of speed, which is typical of all cars. But starting the descent, we'll actually see some bigger, more refreshing numbers, and a weird pattern that emerges with some cars, which their final speeds are weird numbers like 343 or 420, which is kind of weird to say. I'm not trying to make a joke out of it. It's a lot of cars have a top speed of 420 kilometers per hour, at least at down the Mulsanne straight when I was testing these cars, which is kind of weird. So I cut ahead a little bit. It does reach 334 kilometers per hour, another 5th year car, and I gotta say, I don't know why a lot of people don't like this car, but I kind of like the look of it. I'm not like a huge old car enthusiast. I'm not like too generally based on like history if I like a car or not. Like my opinions on a car aren't really forged on history. It's about looks mostly. So unless it's like recent history, like maybe 80s and after. But older cars, I really just like the look of them, and I guess the performance too. If a car is fast in the game, it might draw me towards a car in real life, which kind of sounds weird, but yeah, this game kind of has that effect on me. So entering the corner, we do only manage 334, and we do a little mounting of the wall there. I tried to do a little handbrake turn here, but I promptly messed it up, which is kind of embarrassing. But anyways, moving on to number 4 is the Shelby Cobra GT350. Now, pay attention to that 350 number as something weird happens. So, this car can reach its top speed quite early, pretty close to it. So we're reaching the beginning of the uphill. We're going 349 kilometers per hour, which is pretty fast, but not a huge difference compared to the Dino. I know I say that it's not that fast, but still, this is way, like, several times faster than I've been in real life. So, starting the downhill. Is this going to be our first car to break 360? Who knows? It's not. Only 359, which is the fastest so far, but far from the true potential that this pack has to offer in terms of cars. Now, I never really liked this car, to be honest. I like the look of it, but I never liked the performance. I've always been an older Shelby Cobra kind of guy. The sports muscle car kind of version of it. So actually in the corner, we do lose quite a bit of speed, which is unfortunate, but coming up to our top speed here, remember how I told you to remember the car's name, as coincidentally the fastest top speed that I managed to figure out from the tune is also 350. Now there it is, flickering on it. Now, I swear I had a tune that went 351, but it was probably like me hallucinating or whatever. But if there's a tune out there for faster, I know this car can go faster, but just please let me know, I guess, because I want to see it. Cutting to the end of the straight, we're still at 350, which is really annoying to say the least, as some of these cars, this track is too long for some cars as they reach their potential like right out of the straight. But for Group 1 cars, this track is just long enough. So coming up to our number 3 car, Nissan Fairlady Z, or Z. I say Z because I'm Canadian. But these tunes on Route X are all about gearing for your street cars. For more aerodynamic or suspension sensitive cars, suspension definitely plays a really big role in how much speed you can carry through the corner. They're ultimately lending on how fast you can make it down to the end of the straight. But racing our Ghost here, this is I believe it was I changed something on the suspension just to see if there's a bit of a difference. It was like the last thing I was tuning, and I noticed that there was no difference whatsoever. So suspension is important, but it's not as important as gearing, is what I'm really trying to say. And I hope that makes sense, because I know I can ramble a bit and not really focus on one thing. But suspension, important. Gearing, twice as important. So I did have a really bad cornering section, I guess. I do lose some time on my Ghost, but since the straight is so long, it really doesn't matter for a lot of cars, reaching 355 kilometers per hour, which is slightly faster than the 350 Shelby, but still an improvement, so therefore a higher place. And if you'll notice, most cars, the non-driving tires start to turn blue after a while, but the corners are banked and long enough that you don't really need like the super hot tires to make it around the corner. So if you do see that, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. But coming to our number 2 is the Z8, which is a convertible, because for some reason in this pack there's like 3 convertibles that came in, and the second fastest car also happens to be convertible. So racing our Ghost here on the second half of the track, I forgot to record the downhill, but it only reached like 363 I believe, which is not a huge improvement, but 356 is our top speed, beating out the Fairlady Z by 1 kilometer an hour, maybe even half. But now moving on to our number 1 car, the Tuscan Speed 6 by TVR. This car is a mile ahead of all the other cars, but it's still relatively slow. And if you're wondering where the new Aston is, unfortunately it's in Group X, which I'll probably make separate videos on, but this is only for street car tuning. So already climbing the hill 383 kilometers per hour, which is ridiculous to say the least. And this is probably going to be the shortest review of this car, or showcase, because since it's going much faster we have less time to talk about it. But I'll try and include more clips of it so that we can talk about it some more. So coming down the hill, we have our closest car to 400, and our first car reaching 490, and our official top speed peak for this car is 395. Now we start losing some speed here, but that's kind of what happens to all cars. Now if you can hold this speed, you can generally figure out how fast the true potential of the car is if the car stops losing speed after a certain number. But on the other side of the straight, around the corner, coming out 386 now, or 387, as you can see I can put a lot of mileage in this car trying to figure out the top speed. This car was a bit more sensitive to tuning than the other cars, probably because we're working with higher numbers. But our final number here, 388, from a 5-speed Tuscan Speed 6. Hope that made sense. And I did purposely make this tune so that the gearing would stay at 69. You can make it go to 70 and still have the same speed. 68's a little bit slower, but I don't know, 69 is just a better number than 70. And since we're pretty much just finished this list, I'd like to thank you all for watching if you made it this far. And if you want more future content comparing cars, say older models to newer models, that will be featured on this channel as well. So make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned. Anyways, see you later, guys.